Lakels. Is it Lakels? Is that correct?
I think that's how LD pronounces it.
Right.
So if we get flamed
all right,
for it.
LD, blame LD. Lakels is going for a Manta style. Yasha first, at least. But if he grabs a Halberd, that guy doesn't have a Lincoln's and he doesn't have a BKB. That means that you can use Halberd on him directly. Now, this doesn't stop most of his magic damage. Yeah, it doesn't stop his magic damage, but it'll stop his right clicks. And his right click is still significant right now.
Yeah. And the issue with Mineski picking up all these early BKBs is now they're all on 5-second timers. So all the Morph has to do is wait half a second, and then he just blows the Gyrocopter up. Have you seen that?
Yeah, that's what he did in the last fight. After the vacuum came up, he finally said, okay, this is the time. Comboed everything, took him out really fast.
Yeah. And if you notice, Kevin, I'm alternating between saying gyro and gyro to piss people off.
Oh, are you really? I didn't notice. I'm so proud of you, man. That was epic. I wish I could read chat right now, but I can't.
I know. They're gonna be angry though. So
look at this drawing on the map. They're like completely planning things out. They're like, don't go here. We're going over here. This is the kill zone. This is where everybody dies. But they're not actually doing that. They're looking like they're gonna smoke. Got a Dragonite following a Dragonite. He's level 19. He's got AC finish, so he's not gonna hit super hard individually. But his attack speed's going to be good, and his disable's going to be good, and the -5 armor will help the rest of his team duo. Morphling trying to get a solo kill maybe. Does he see 2 heroes top? He's probably not going to go on the TA. I assume he thinks there's a whole level 5 or 5-man team here. The ward doesn't spot any of these Radiant heroes, so I think he's a little hesitant. Yeah, he's playing it really safe. He does not want to run into a 5-man team.
Yeah, and Joven actually is going to pick up an AC as well. I think they've just gone for the we're going to do negative armor damage strat, and really smart idea. I thought they were going to do this. I mean, bait out people to come top, and then Wisp just TPs the TA in for the free Roshan. And that's actually a cheese one as well. That's huge. And they're actually just going to boss back out.
So, yep, they don't really have to pressure that. It's actually not a good place to fight if you're a Radiant team. The Dire team can wrap around this way, or they can wrap around this way as well. So it's a little scary, and especially if they have things like Blink Daggers. Like, you can channel Epicenter right here, blink in, and just a lot of people die usually. So they're just going to back up for now, farm the rest of the jungle again, finish up their core items. If Chaos Knight finishes a Halberd, that's going to be fantastic. The evasion, 25% evasion applies to himself and his illusions. And again, we have no MKBs on either team, so evasion is really, really useful this game.
Yeah, and actually the TA is going to pick up her Assault Cuirass. So now we have the Desolator, the Meld, the Assault, and the Medallion. So
that's what, A tier, -5 for AC, -6 for Desolator. We're looking at is that 17? No, 19. -17, 19 armor.
Doesn't it cap out, though, at some point? I thought it was 21 or 22.
It caps out at -20. So if you're going against a hero like Dragonite, who's sitting at a casual 38 armor, it's going to take a bit to hit that minus armor cap. So I think they're going to be fine.
Yeah, definitely. And, I mean, especially with the Meld hit and on top of the Medallion, I think this is mainly actually being done for the Morphling, who's got 35 armor.
Does he actually have more than Dragonite? It's close. They have comparable armor. And he's made out of water. How is that even? Alright, he's got these little shoulder pad things, but surely.
Yeah, Tiny's got 0 armor and Doom.
They're the manliest looking heroes, but they actually have 0 armor.
Yeah, and this water thing.
Yeah.
You're going to tell me that thing is hard?
He's really good at dancing, though, so makes him hard to kill. So he's actually split pushing at the moment. Oh no, his ulti actually is going down. 2,800 in the bank, so he's saving up for buybacks, of course. Still pretty strong, but he's got the buyback, so he doesn't actually want to pressure this just yet or finish his Manta style, so he'll back off. The rest of MiTH.Trust sitting as 4, because they know that the Morphling can get there relatively fast as well. And no new progression for Sand King, just a drum picked up. More utility for his team. Gem, Wand on Rubik, and he finally finishes Arcane Boots as well. So
yeah. Pipe of Insight is picked up on the Visage, so... I've also been saying Visage and Visage a lot.
Man, you are just next level.
I'm previous level.
Throw more muttons into this cast, and this is just they're gonna be so mad at you.
Oh god. But anyways, MiTH actually grouping up finally, just dewarding, looking for something. I mean, they are down to racks, but by no means are they out of this game. They've got an AC as well on Abba, on the Dragonite. The Morphling has 3,200 gold. I assume he's gonna pick up a Manta soon, or he might just save for the buyback if he thinks that Mineski will push. And I mean, I'd imagine that Mineski's going to start pushing anytime soon, right? With the Aegis?
I would hope so. It looks like they're going to group up now. And Manta style at this position would actually be really good, not just for the possible team fight aspects, but the counter pushing. He could just pop his illusions, and then he could go back to base, and hopefully his illusions could take towers. And Morphling illusions, by the way, guys, some of the scariest illusions in the entire game, just because of how much agi he has. This agi is applied to the illusions. They're going to be hitting for like a support hero on the enemy team, not to mention with insane attack speed. So you do have to worry about these in the split pushing. He's got 6 seconds left on his ulti. He can TP back to base. I assume that is going to be the case. He's going to let this die, almost guaranteed. But Mineski is going high ground already, and they've got a lot of minus
Wow, look
armor
at
on
how
the tower.
fast the tower goes down.
Dragonite pops his ulti, though. They're ready to start the fight. He's putting the slowdown on the illusions. There's a vacuum in, but I can't even tell who's in there. Somebody's going to die. It's Sand King, actually. He does not get his epicenter back. He doesn't have buyback either, but it looks like they're going to be able to kill Gyro for the first time. Morphling is here.
Oh,
He's
the
got a
Wisp TP's him top.
TP's him back in. Oh, wow. He pops BKB, though. He's being chased. They're looking for a stun or at least a slow. Great blink just in time. That's going to destroy all those. Oh, Morphling goes in. Great ulti. He's got the slow on him. He can meld. He's going to try to TP. There's the adaptive strike, and he's going to be stopped. He goes high ground to God. Great meld. It's going to buy him a second. Uses waveform. That's going to stop blink. Here comes a blink in 1 second, so he's going to get out, I believe. No blink yet. All right, he's going to wait. Do I have to look somewhere else? I'm really surprised he hasn't done that yet. There's the blink. Where did he go?
Oh, he went right on
see.
top past that. That's actually
that's
one
cool.
really, really difficult position for them to find him at. They do have a gem, but it looks like he's fine.
They didn't see him do this, by the way. They had an observer ward on the high ground, but he blinked. He waited for his meld cooldown. That was so smart. Waited for his meld cooldown. They can see him now. Oh, is he going to backdoor this? Can he do it? Oh my gosh, he's going for it. He backdoors it, pops the glyph. He's going to meld strike again. He is so buying his burrow strike in the Iron Shell. He's going to pay for it, trying to be cheeky and take a ranged barracks, but he trades a glyph for his buyback life. And now a fight mid, actually. Chaos Knight popping the BKB, wants to finish off the Rubik. Morphling's here, though, and he can't fight Morphling. Morphling constantly slowing. Wisp shows up to buy him a second waveform through. He goes down. That's actually Rubik dying. Will Wisp stay alive? TA buyback. Morphling's in trouble. I thought that was a dead Chaos Knight, but it's going to swing back again. Morphling goes down. Rubik buys back. Everybody buying back, and he got his Manta style. So on the bright side, gets the item progress, but things are going back and forth here.
Yeah, Jay actually, the previous fight wasn't able to get his cheese off, but I think the plan actually wasn't to do that. I think he was going to save it regardless, and they were going to just kind of suicide for the bottom racks, save for buyback, and then if you notice, as soon as the fight started, the Wisp and the Templar Assassin actually TP'd at the top, and with that Deso and that the Assault Curse, they just railed through the racks. And
Okay,
I think,
that's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
They teleported to the top, and they took the melee racks. Is that correct?
So
okay.
I think what Mineski can do if MiTH doesn't actually decide to push here is they wait for the next buyback timer, and they go for top, and then do the same thing for bottom.
Well, unless MiTH.Trust can take a barracks themselves, they're going to put the ulti down. Stun lands actually on TA. This is going to be great. Burst strike. Gyro's blown up immediately. He's dead. He's going to buy back, though, so he's got a couple extra seconds. Sand King running for his life. Going to try to come back and land an epicenter. He's actually going to channel, but Chaos Knight goes back there and cleans him up really easily. Rubik pops the Ghost Scepter as well, and these guys are being slowed. Morphling doing his best to shut down this Chaos Knight, but
Jay taking
he is
so much
getting low.
damage.
Oh, the stun shuts him down completely, and this looks pretty bad for Mineski. In the meantime, Io gets thrown back out, takes another nuke here. Darkseer as well as Morphling chasing down the Visage, and the BKB Gyrocopter is going to try to kill Morphling, but the surge on him, I think they might fight this. But a Soul Assumption puts him a little scared. He does have EB up if he does want to fight a Gem sitting on the high ground, but MiTH is going to have to back out from this. Their HP is just a little bit too low here.
And everyone's actually kind of low. They're just resetting from the fight. Mineski actually gets blown up. I mean, the Chaos Knight did the right thing. He pops his ult, just pops his armlet, BKB goes in, but I mean, so much slow, he doesn't really have a target to go for, especially since the Ghost Scepter's up on SD.
Yeah, every time the BKB runs out, he just has a really rough time. The burst damage in the single target is huge. He actually bought a Vitality Booster, by the way. I actually don't like this choice. He got a Vitality Booster instead of finishing his Halberd, and I think this is a big mistake. The extra survivability that we get from the 25% evasion is way higher than the extra 250 HP. And yeah, the HP does apply to his illusions, but so does the evasion, and he doesn't even get the Halberd possibility. I think this is actually an item build mistake that maybe could have changed things a lot.
Yeah, definitely. I would have liked to have seen him finish that out, but MiTH realizes that they're in a precarious situation. If they wait it out any longer and Mineski continues to farm, and they can farm for a buyback, they can just kind of do that Wisp TP thing again. So I think they want to avoid that and just kind of commit to a push here. The Morph isn't going to get it a whole lot stronger. I mean, he's got 2.1k, 39 armor, does 300 damage from just his right click. And on top of his F-Blade, I mean, this is the time to go.
His illusions are really taking out the tower fast. They don't have any minus armor here, but it's still pretty impressive. Dragon Knight goes high. He's going to blink for. He has a blink dagger. What goes on Gyro? Gyro's bursted down. No BKB from him. Chaos Knight's going to fight for his life. He doesn't actually have his ulti. And MiTH.Trust is looking like they're going to absolutely crush this fight. There's no buyback on those two carries. Are they going to be able to do this? Wisp, that blink pickup from Dragon Knight allowed them to initiate perfectly with a huge stun on the enemy carries. And now they're going to take a melee barracks mid. The only hero that's up is the TA. And TA only has AC. Deso, they're going for the tier 4 as the first tower goes down. Can MiTH.Trust swing this? Mineski was not expecting another blink forward. Visage is trying to slow things down, but the slow's doing good damage. They're actually fighting though. There's the epicenter. TA ends up going down. Wisps goes down as well. The tier 4 towers goes down, and they're going for the throne. The glyph is dead. The important heroes are dead, and Dragon Knight is tanking the supports. It's not gonna matter. And MiTH.Trust, I can't believe it. With that blink dagger, they hopped in, they killed the important heroes, and they won the game. Oh my gosh. Did you think that was going to happen? I thought things were going to fight a couple more times here, but holy crap. Myth takes the first game versus Mineski. That was like insanely close here. They did it. I can't believe it.
Yeah, what a game. I mean, did you see what was going on in the middle of the fight? The Wisp TP'd the Templar Assassin to backdoor the bottom racks, and I actually think that was a poor decision just because, I mean, she came back to an empty base. Nobody else was left alive, and what a crazy game, though. I really thought that the way that Mineski was playing it was correct, with trying to just pick off racks using the Templar Assassin, but Myth just says, nope, we're not letting that happen anymore. They commit to a push, and they actually managed to throne it.
That was such sick play. I love the Blink Dagger pickup. I mean, it's something that you almost never see on Dragon Knight, but his disable is so great. It's like 3.5 seconds at level 4, I believe. Or it's like 3.25, I think. 3.25 with 4 levels of skill points. Their BKBs were already low. They had a lot of burst damage with the Ethereal Blade and the Waveform and the Adaptive Strike, and they just comboed that together, so it was super cool.
Yeah, I think they actually wasted the BKBs a little bit early, and then once the timer ran out, I mean, things just kind of went down from there. And special shout out to R5 for single-handedly keeping them in that game. I mean, that 4-man stun in middle when they were actually quite far behind, and then after that, getting his ultimate off as well to secure the fight. I mean, it doesn't really get much better than that as a Sand King support.
Yeah.
Now we'll turn it over to LD and AUI to add some thoughts on the game.
Wow, what a way to start off day 4 of the International 3 East qualifiers. Unbelievable. Mineski, they were leading by 10,000 gold for over 35 minutes. They had 2 lanes of racks. AUI, they had that game all but in the bag. They even had CK Wisp, which makes it even harder to leave your base and avoid losing racks. They couldn't pull through in the end. A couple of interesting stats after that game. Visage is now 10-2. He was 10-1 going into that game. Your favorite hero, he notches a loss, unfortunately. I gotta say, I completely agree with Blitz about 2 key points. The BKBs, getting them early, well, it really cost them in the end, I felt. And not that they got them early, but more just that they were forced to use those charges very aggressively because you're up against a Morphling with an Ethereal Blade. As the game goes longer, it goes later. That's where the E-Blade really starts to hurt.
Yeah, for sure. BKB is an item that if you sort of get it early, then it really slows down your farm as the game goes later. It's a lot slower, for example, getting a BKB on a Gauss than getting a Yasha first, just because you can move faster, you can counter the Yasha, you can attack faster, kill creeps faster. Something else that sort of started going wrong for Mineski is even though they were really dominant in their tri lane, I felt like they didn't get as many kills as they could have. For example, that level 1 Rubik, Visage was unable to kill him because he got Soul Assumption as a Grave Chill there. As a skill, I really like Grave Chill at level 1 just because it's 70 mana, Soul Assumption is 170. You can only really use 1 Soul Assumption, so your damage output isn't that high from it. It's magical damage, which at level 1 is actually worse than physical damage. For example, Rubik has that 0-1 base armor, so the 215 damage, and that's only if you have the completed 3 counters, is going to only really be around like 155 damage, whereas 3 all attacks is going to do something around that, plus you have the extra slow for your allies to catch up against the extra hits.
So looking at the laning stage, you feel not really the best skill build from Visage, not the most efficient way. They had aggressive tri-lane, could have found some early kills, and although they did decently there, felt like they could have done more.
I mean, it's hard to criticize just because they did do quite well in their aggressive tri-lane, but I feel like when you aggressive tri-lane, you need to make kills happen. Stuff needs to happen when you're putting 3 heroes in a lane without a real pull. I mean, sure, you can put a hard camp, but it's just not the same as the medium camp into like pulling into another major camp that say the Radiant pull can do.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really feel like it was the most polished play from either team. When MiTH.Trust went to gank the bottom lane, Sand King teleported there.
Yeah.
Lakel's on his Morphling was farming the wave by himself, way past the tower while Rubik was pulling. You're up against CK Wisp Visage, and he was very heavily agility morphed, which Lakel's is accustomed to doing, and it's pretty common on Morphling in general when you have a free farm lane or a 1v1 where you're pulled. He was doing that against an aggressive tri lane, a little bit greedy with his positioning and the level of agility he had, and it cost him death, so I didn't feel like that was the level of play that we saw yesterday from these teams.
Yeah, it does feel they're playing a tad worse. This is their first game, and sometimes it takes a little bit to warm up, even though.
Yeah, it could be nerves, could be
Yeah.
jitters. It's only game 1, of course.
I mean, those Sand King ganks on the bottom lane were really good, though. We keep talking about how, like, you can put, like, a lifesteal in the short lane, you aggressive try, one of your supports picks up a early TB scroll, the TB down, lifesteal gets an open wounds, kills that hero, and that's one of the reasons lifesteal is so strong. But these teams, they're, like, putting a Darkseer or a Clockwork in the long lane, have a Darkseer rotate there, or in this case, a Darkseer in the long lane, having Sand King rotate there, which is really, really unexpected, and it's really hard to call. It's hard for Gao to just play completely defensive.
I'm sorry, I can't take you seriously because I'm watching Kawa just crawl around on the ground having a private little seance with our casting panel right now, but
Yeah.
go on.
It's really hard for Gao to just farm.
Fucking Kawa.
Yeah. Because it's impossible to know that gank is coming in.
It seems we may be having some audio difficulties over there. Yeah, it's hard to know the ganks coming in, and I mean, it was good movement from MiTH.Trust. I feel like one of the other keys to this game was the level of farm that Darkseer got. TNK had a pipe and a mech, I think even before the 30-minute mark, as an off-lane roaming Darkseer on a team that wasn't really getting towers, was losing heavily, and that combined with good vacuum timing and great Sand King play, I felt like they just should have lost. With 3 BKBs up on Mineski and a CK Wisp, a Gyro who had a decent farm, felt they really should have been able to break the base and then just win from there.
Yeah, it really did feel like Mineski had some trouble pushing, which is, I mean, Myth had a very good sort of turtle lineup. It's very hard to split push a Morphling, Darkseer, heroes like that who can push out the lane while getting to the other lanes very quickly. But
Right.
still, even after they're having trouble breaking the base, I feel like with a CK Wisp, you can always farm it out. People keep underestimating CK's late game potential. If you manage to get a couple of tier 6 items, tier 4 items, whatever you want to call them, Heart,
Right.
Skatey,
The
not
6K
Butterfly,
gold
but
items,
yeah,
the big ones.
like Heart, Armlet, AC if you want, Manta. I really like Skate on him. Just
On CK?
yeah, it's
Just for the stats.
yeah. Your illusions need attack speed. It gives you a lot of extra health, but he's really, really strong. Just because you have 3 extra illusions that are doing 100% damage, he has one of the highest damage outputs, and I very rarely see him getting that farm that he would need to do that. But when you're ahead like that, you have Raxus on them, you don't really need to press the issue that much. I think they sort of got scared because Morphling is so strong late game, and I really feel they didn't need to be.
Yeah, it felt like they just pressed the issue. They overextended. That cost them game 1. Mineski, who all but had game 1 in the bag, it felt strategically, in terms of their farm advantage, in terms of their item advantage, in terms of their map control. They drop it. Great play from MiTH.Trust to bend but not break. Good decision-making in the clutch. They take game 1. That now sets us up for a 1-0 lead. MiTH.Trust are going to jump into game 2, being only 1 game away from moving on. But even if they do win that next game, they have a long day ahead of them. They still have to play Rising Stars, who is probably sitting back, watching and waiting and thinking, man, I hope these teams show up and play more like this and less like they did yesterday, because that's going to make our lives a whole lot easier. Great performance from MiTH.Trust, but you got to feel like for both these teams, they're going to have to step it up if they want to take down Rising Stars. Coming up next will be game 2. MiTH.Trust, they lead the set 1-0. Who's going home first? We'll find out after this. Guys, we're back, and it's time to see if there's going to be more mutton on the menu. Mineski did not look very strong in Game 1. A sloppy performance for them. They drop it. Game 2, we're about to jump into it. So, AUI, your thoughts? Are we going to have some lamb chops as our second course here, or are they going to bounce back? Can Mineski force a Game 3?
I feel like Mineski, even though they lost that game, they did play well enough to get the advantage early on. And I still have faith in them. I hope they put Jay in puck, basically.
In Mineski, MiTH.Trust. You guys, you've got his faith. Now you've got to prove that you deserve it. So with that being said, Game 2 is going to be getting underway just a few moments from now. The teams should be ready. What do you think they need to do, AUI? Looking at sort of the way they played the last game, what were the key mistakes, or more importantly, what should they do differently coming into Game 2?
Really, I felt like most of their play was better than MiTH.Trust. I liked their draft quite a bit more. I thought that the Morphling pick, like, they knew the aggressive trial was coming, and they picked the Morphling into it, who's one of the weakest laning carries right now after that gigantic nerf. I like their picks better. I like their early play better. I feel like they just like lost their calm. They got excited, like, "Whoa, we're winning!
We're close! We're close!
Yeah,
we got it, guys! Umosyan!" Oh crap!
Xian, is that what you say when you're about to eat mutton?
It's the rough translation, as I understand, is basically kill all enemies or all enemies will fall.
Oh.
It's sort of your battle cry for a lot of the Pinoy players and fans, but in this case, yeah, it means all will become mutton chops. Basically, is what we have coming for you. So, well, with that being said, we're gonna head off to the casters. Purge, Blitz. What are you looking for in Game 2?
I just want to see a Game 3 personally. I think both teams are playing pretty equivalently. The early laning was really well played by Mineski, but then MiTH did some great ganks and stayed in the game. Their counter push was fantastic as well. I don't know. I just want to see 3 games because I think these games are really fun to watch.
Yeah, actually, both teams look really evenly matched. I gave the advantage to Mineski early. I thought they kind of squandered it a little bit. But MiTH, I mean, SD and who was it? R5, they played fantastically as support. I mean, that Rubik was in perfect position for the most part. I mean, think about how many times he died while also warding and buying a second flying courier.
Yeah, man.
That's something
Big
that
investment.
we can't. That actually paid off. That won.
Did you really doubt it? I wasn't sure if you were serious, honestly.
I mean, no.
Like,
I mean, it was
a
a great idea. Yeah.
You've heard about the double bottle crow?
Yeah.
It's like synonymous with Pinoy Dota.
It was the Thai team that was doing it.
Yeah.
That's the funny thing.
I just thought it was funny.
They've
That's
been
all.
That is a
usurped.
good point. It was the Thai team. I'm sorry.
MiTH.Trust is secretly Pinoy. That's
It's
what we've
not.
learned
It's not
today.
every day I get to see 2 couriers just kind of flying around the map.
Yeah, delivering bottles and things, and it is really efficient. It costs money, but like we said, you spend 400 gold on a courier with flying courier. You don't have to buy a soul ring, and you don't have to get tranquil boots. You can just go straight into arcane boots. That's one item slot that you're going to be freed up. Darkseer actually does run out of item slots pretty fast if you go soul ring and tranquil boots and like all these other items. And then you get a mech, and then you get a wand, and so it is kind of nice to share the item slot. You can sell the bottle later for 300. It's not as big as of a gold investment, and then you always have 2 couriers. Which
Oh
I'm
yeah,
sure
I
they
definitely
use.
saw the merits in it. I just thought it was funny. That's all.
Hey guys, let me ask you, was anybody having flashbacks to the International 2 with that Morphling? I mean, shut down all game long. What didn't really feel like the high impact hero he was. Game goes late, all of a sudden it's a gigantic water creature just descending on your base.
It didn't really feel like that to me, honestly.
No?
Like, well, think about the Morphlings at TI2. It seemed like they would start off in a tri-lane, they would get last hits, they would get kills, and all of a sudden you'd have like a 4-0 Morphling, and then bam, you get an EB, and then they'd walk around the map and one-shot people, and then they'd like, the game was over.
Right, the way he got there was totally different, but
Yeah,
the end
yeah,
result
exactly.
it felt very similar to me.
Morphling
AUI,
winning.
you think we're going to see more Morphling this year? I know you think he's still viable in some cases.
Yeah, I didn't really like him pick there. I mean, he's really good in like at dealing with split push specifically, and when you can pick a carry that's like hard to kill, then he's really not that bad.
Right.
So I think we will see more Morphling. I think he'll also get a small buff before TI3 comes around.
I hope he does. Guys, well, with that being said, Game 1 in the books. It's MiTH.Trust leading the best of 3, 1-0. Game 2 is now underway. We're going to hop over to the game. Take it away, Purge and Blitz.
All right, guys, and once again, this is Game 2 between Team Mineski and MiTH.Trust. The loser of this best of 3 does get eliminated from the TI3 qualifiers. So this is an absolute do-or-die game, and I'm pretty excited to see what happens.
Yep, as am I. Fantastic game we saw in Game 1. Hard fought to the bitter end.
Yeah, it really was. I didn't think that was going to happen. I was like, okay, I'm just going to slow push this, maybe eventually take a Rax or push in for a tower. Eventually things will work out, but it was just over so fast. And even with some of their decision making, there was a lot of backdoor attempts. They just wanted to get the third Rex. I could just imagine like their frustration as that entire game went on. They just slowly said, okay, just take a Rex, and must have been felt like fighting uphill, and it must have been really disappointing when they lost that.
Yeah, I mean, at 12 minutes, the Morph had something like 30 CS. I mean, don't quote me on that,
Yeah,
but
he was really
it
low.
was really that low.
It was a rough tri lane. He had a tough time up there. Against the Chaos Knight, his mana costs were really high. He doesn't have a whole lot of combos. Really hard to get kills. But this game, we actually see MiTH.Trust banning out a TA first. Now, Mineski did play the hero in the previous game. Who did she lane against again? A Dragon Knight, I believe?
Dragon Knight, yes.
Do you really feel like the TA deserves a first-round ban? This seems really weird to me. Maybe it's a strategy. Maybe they're trying to ban out like the tier 2 heroes and let all the tier 1s through, and then it really dices up the picks, or what? What do you think?
I mean, I think they just thought that TA was really annoying to play against. She did quite well in that game. I mean, she put out so much damage. If they do decide picking a lineup like that, I don't think they want to face her again. I don't think it's a drafting choice in the sense that they want to let heroes through as much as it's a respect ban.
All right, well, Shadow Demon's still making it into the tier 1. Batrider's in the pool. We got Wisp in the pool. We got Magnus in the pool. So possibly going to see a Batrider this game. Not a hero that's been making it through a lot. I wouldn't be too surprised if he's the most banned. I don't know. I haven't seen that many Batriders so far for the Eastern qualifiers. Even less Lone Druids. I'd also like to point out that, again, that was a comeback game for the Compendiums. I believe it was a 10k advantage that you have to come back from, and they skirted alongside that quite a bit. So that was pretty fun to watch.
Yeah, Mineski picked up quite a big lead in that game, but MiTH actually able to just claw back, and they had such a good defensive lineup I'd like to talk about. I mean, Sand King, it's kind of difficult to get an offensive epicenter off just because most of the time they're spread, right? And you have
Offensive
to
or
blink in.
defensive?
Offensive.
Okay.
But if you play defensively and you can wait in your base where there are more hiding spots, and it's difficult to penetrate, right? And you're actually just kind of funneling yourself into one area, one choke point, then it's really easy for that Sand King to get his ultimate off. So that actually kind of played well into MiTH's hands. Also, picking up that Blink Dagger so quickly.
Yeah, he really did get that fast. If those supports didn't do so well, if those kills would have gone on maybe the carries instead, I honestly don't know if they could have defended that. I mean, having an EB up, if they would have had a faster EB and a slower Blink Dagger on Sand King, they might have just lost that game. So it was really fortunate that the supports did so well. Anyways, Batrider was the first pick for MiTH.Trust here, so they're going to have to deal with Napalm and BKB ganks, basically. Doesn't matter if you're Magic Immune or not, Batrider's going to be there and he is going to disable you.
A fantastic first pick. Mineski going right back to that Gyrocopter, not afraid to pick it up at all, and they're actually going to take the Rubik themselves this game, and I think that's actually the smart decision. He caused them so much issues, and I think that's just as much of a pick, you know, to deny MiTH. I mean, SD played that hero phenomenally last game.
How many cooldowns did he steal? It seemed like every single team
lot.
fight. And that's not a spell that most people focus on. You always see people gunning for RPs and things like that, but even cooldown is a fairly respectable ability, honestly. It does quite a bit of damage. At level 1 it was like 350 and it scales up okay, and the slow is just fantastic, and it goes through Magic Immune. Great counter to Chaos Knight, and it was really smart of him to pick that up a lot.
Yes, definitely. And actually MiTH now, the great thing about Batrider picking it up first, as well as a hero like Magnus or Lone Druid, is that it gives your lanes a lot of flexibility. One of the things that you want to look for in Dota when you're picking is where the other team is going to lane and try to counterpick that lane out. And so picking a hero like Batrider keeps the team on edge, right? Because you don't actually know where they're going to put it. I mean, LGD in against IG, they actually ran at one short lane farm, and Brax picked up something like a 4-minute Blink Dagger or something like that.